gotta say, so far, this really feels like just the mood, the tone, everything. It just really feels like accepting the bitter truth. Great use of sound. It all sounds so dark. And I believe that was Adam with the guitar just doing those little sounds. It's almost like beams of light shining into the tomb. I've said it before about Adam, and I'll say it again here. He is so good at painting with his instrument. We're very visual creatures, and when you can create imagery using audio, that's really something special. Tool doesn't even need music videos, to be honest. Honestly, I almost feel like it's counterproductive in a way. Their music creates your own personalized imagery. You see things that will only make sense to you. Pretty sure I just heard like a storm in the headphones, like thunder coming through. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying in Zombie, where I think I said something along the lines of at the end it was getting angrier, and it almost sounded like he was amping himself up because he understood the prospect of his grief would be a hell of a fight, like he knew a storm was coming. But I forgot to get into the lyrics just because I was getting sucked into the atmosphere of the whole thing. So verse 1, we listen to the tales and romanticize how we'd follow the path of the hero, boast about the day when the river's overrun, how we rise to the height of our halo. Listen to the tales as we all rationalize our way into the arms of the Savior, feigning all the trials and the tribulations. None of us have actually been there, not like you. Oh man. And now here I'm starting to understand why Vicarious was the first song. It's almost like he's putting himself in her shoes now. Like, the song was obviously a social commentary. It was pretty on the nose about that. But I think he was planning the idea of living vicariously through people to set this up. And when he uses the word feigning, I had to look it up just to be sure what it was. But when he uses that, he's saying that people are pretending to be affected by it, by her struggles, her trials and tribulations. But I think what this verse is ultimately saying, like how we try to vicariously understand people's really bad struggles so we can be grateful for what we have and find our divinity. But the lyrics continue. Ignorant siblings at the congregation gather around spewing sympathy. Spare me. None of them can even hold a candle up to you. Okay, so here I'm seeing some resentment or some bitterness towards his family members. And hey, it's not pretty, but it's honest. And that's something Tool has always been good at. They're honest with themselves, and they put it on display, warts and all, because it's important to see that. We want to relate to each other because we don't want to feel alone. And unfortunately, I mean, this is a time where Maynard seems to be feeling alone, and he wants to alienate himself. He's pushing away people. When my dad passed, I was very numbed out for a good month or two. Memories from that feel very surreal to me. They almost feel closer to dreams than they actually happened. But we'll continue the lyrics. None of them can even hold a candle up to you. Blinded by choice, these hypocrites won't see. But enough about the collective Judas. Okay, so now I'm just getting this whole vibe that the family kind of abandoned her, and Maynard's the one that really did all he could to help her. If that's the case, he has every reason to feel the way he does. That's really an awful thing to go through, and an awful thing to just leave her there alone dealing with all this. Who could deny you were the one who illuminated your little pieces of the divine? In this little light of mine, a gift you passed on to me. I'm gonna let it shine to guide you safely on your way. your way home. I think what he's saying is, like, if the light is representative of divinity, Maynard's going to take the faith that she had in him, that light, and to use that spark of divinity to honor her, almost like passing the torch. The flame people leave behind doesn't have to go out. We can take the torch from them, and we can take the torch from them, and we can keep that fire alive. Good Lord, man. This is a roller coaster. There's some really deep concepts going here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do them justice. I mean, this is a first impression. But what I'm getting from this, I mean, I'm hearing the storm coming in, and they're talking about rain. They're talking about the river overrunning and how they boast about it. I think what he's saying is that people are trying to force sympathy that isn't actually there. He's calling them out on it. And then I think I heard him say 10,000 days in the fire is long enough. And the fact that it has this rain dance vibe about it. I mean, rain would put out the fire. Rain would overrun the rivers and help put out the fire. The fire here is her suffering. And the fact is that even though it's sad, this rain, this tragedy is actually merciful. Even though her being gone hurts, the suffering and the trials and the tribulations, it's all over. And I get it. Suffering is way worse than death. But let me actually read the lyrics. Oh, what are they gonna do when the light goes down? Without you to guide them all to Zion. What are they gonna do when the rivers overrun, other than tremble incessantly? High is the way, but all eyes are upon the ground. You were the light in the way, they'll only read about. I only pray heaven knows when to lift you out. 10,000 days in the fire is long enough. You're going home. I think what he's saying is that she led by example. Her spirit in the face of all this suffering was a shining example and something to aspire to. And I get the vibe that Maynard really clinged to that, especially listening to everything up until this point. You know, he was coming from a place of a lot of resentment, anger. But when he says, you were the light in the way they'll only read about, it's almost like he's creating this vibe of like, he was there with Moses and she was Moses. And all the siblings there, they're more just people who read the Bible. Because you truly can't understand until you're there. I think people who suffer are really the only people that can truly understand that type of thing. There is a benefit to suffering. It makes you appreciate the people who lighten the load. But then the chorus, you're the only one who can hold your head up high. Shake your fist at the gates saying, I have come home now. Fetch me the Spirit, the Son, and the Father. Tell them their pillar of faith has ascended. It's time now. My time now. Give me my wings. That's such a beautiful tribute. I love how he's painting this tragedy as a victory for her. It's a tragedy to him, but it's a victory for her. But the lyrics continue. Give me my wings. You are the light in the way they will only read about. And then the bridge. Set as I am in my ways, in my arrogance, burden of proof tossed upon non-believers. You were my witness, my eyes, my evidence, Judith Marie, unconditional one. When he says her name, it just makes it so personal. Tool does a great job of nuance and creating so many interpretations that when he gets personal, and just like when he says her name, it just adds so much more to that. He's claiming his grief. And when he says burden of proof tossed upon non-believers, I think what he's saying there is that he's not a religious person, but him being there to witness the divinity in her gives him hope in people, and maybe even gives him hope that there's mercy at the end of this life. Sorry guys, I know I paused it quite a bit on this one. I needed the breaks, honestly, emotionally. One thing I really like about the part that Adam was playing there is the way he was sliding up the neck. And also, I know I haven't said that much about the band members, but I think Justin went absolute savage on this one. Especially when the whole band picked up, I feel like he stood out so much. Everything he was doing was so interesting. But let's finish up the lyrics. Daylight dims, leaving cold fluorescence. Difficult to see you in this light. Please forgive this bold suggestion. Should you see your maker's face tonight, look him in the eye, and tell him, I never lived a lie, never took a life, but surely saved one. Hallelujah, it's time for you to bring me home. That's probably the most beautiful tribute I've ever heard. I just feel so bad for Maynard just because I know that pain. I know what it's like. This one feels a lot like H in the sense where I don't think I'll be listening to it a lot. It's just too heavy for me. But at the same time, I feel like this perspective is a healthier perspective than I've had at times. So I can see this being helpful to me at bad moments in my grief process. At this point, with how the album's revealing itself, I think this really could end up being a great, great album. Up there with Anima and Lateralis. And I still feel like they're not getting softer, but I'm okay with that completely. I like Aggressive Tool. I know they're evolving, and as you evolve, you become more peaceful, but this album's also about a tragedy in his life, and that really disturbs your center, and you have to recalibrate and find it again. And grief is really, really messy. I mean, you're angry, you're sad, you're resentful. It can fill you with hatred for others. It can leave you numb. So I can really see this album being kind of a jumbled mess in terms of the emotions it's evoking. But Maynard's such a master class at narration that he can guide us through his process of grief in a very compelling way, no matter how messy it gets. But anyways, guys, that's where I'm gonna end the video. I appreciate you stopping and hanging out with me. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. Helps the channel grow, helps the video reach more people, and I appreciate it a lot. And if no one told you today, I love you. I appreciate every single one of you guys who watches the video and interacts with me. Your support means the world to me, so thank you. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.